What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. Yeah. Today I'm taking a break off the Suzuki Bandit Café Racer that we're building. If you want to check it out, I'll put a clicky thing up there, you can go and have a look see. But we run into a few hurdles making a seat hump. Tried all sorts of stuff, bending it around bits of wood, bending it around tubes, heating it up and bashing it with a hammer and planishing it and all sorts of stuff, and we're just not getting anywhere. So the proper way to do it is an English wheel. So I need an English wheel. Was looking online because there's some cheap and nasty horrible ones out there, but everything in here is cheap and nasty. So I thought, oh, I'll have a look at them. 170 quid I think. And you can have a small English wheel, they call it. There's a fella not too far away, he says, oh, I've got one, come and have a look see before you buy one. So I went and had a look and it's just rubbish. Absolute crap. The platens, the anvils, one of them you can't use because the bearings where it's been pushed in the end, it's gone in cockeyed and it's all askew and you can't even get a shaft through it. So that's junk. The frame is made out of something like this, 1.5 mil thick. Which is, once you put it up in a frame, you can grab the top of it with your hand, you can just wobble it and move it. English wheels are supposed to be solid, so I'm making my own. So I went online and I found a fella who CNC makes the anvils and the top wheels and stuff, and this is what has come through. I'll see if I can do the zoomy thing, but this is lovely. It's all CNC machined out of EN9. Proper tough stuff, and the finish on it is just epic. There's just no marks on it or anything. It's really nicely done. All the bearings are really smooth, which you can't say the same for the cheap nasty ones. Comes with all the shafts. I've got the cradle for the anvils as well. So we're in, and it comes with 7 anvils. So anything from like really crowned ones to getting on for flat basically, so you can get all the different curves and stuff into the metal. So I'm really pleased with this. This and the 7 anvils and the cradle was 185 quid. So a little bit more than a whole crappy English wheel, but such a better place to be starting off from. And I'm not going to be making the frame out of that junk. I'm making it out of this. Oh yeah, go big or go home. This is 60mm box section, mild steel, 5mm wall thickness, not 1.5. This is proper nasty stuff. You wouldn't want to drop it on your foot, put it that way. It does weigh quite a lot, but if I rig it up in a frame and stuff and brace it all, this is going to be solid. It's never going to be as good as like a cast one. And they are gorgeous, the old English wheels that are all cast and stuff. But the trouble is, one, they're massive, really big. And 2, they cost about 2 grand, which I ain't got. And 3, weigh about 2 ton. So once you put it somewhere, you ain't shifting it. Whereas I've got limited space here, so I need something I can tuck out the way and get on with other stuff. So that's what I'm using. So as far as cost goes, this lot was 185 quid, and all the steel to make the frame and the supports and the tensioner and everything else came in at just over 60 quid, which ain't bad. So, it's like, I think I worked it out, £148.70, sorry, £248.70 is what I spent on everything, but I should end up with an English wheel that if you bought it online, you'll probably pay the best part of 800 quid for it. Which is, it's about right, what we're tooling and production and various other bits and pieces, but, for a bit of effort and getting a grinder and a welder out and having a go, you can end up with something hopefully really cool. When I did Brenda the Bender, everybody was asking for a set of plans, so I've done a plan, got a plan, so I know what I'm doing. I will put this online and I'll put a thingy in the description to tell you where it is. If you want to grab a copy and have a go, have a go. Plans will be there, and I've also got a materials list so you know exactly what I'm using. But that's what I'm doing. I'm making an English wheel today. I do like that. That is lovely. Right, let's have a clear up, and then I can start chopping some of this up and get on with it. Right, we are getting there. Right, so that's the top bit. That's 600mm. The side support is 700mm. This one is 480mm. And it's going to go something like that. Ish. We'll figure it out. That'll be fine. Right, this 50mm bit of box is obviously going to go on the bottom here, and that's going to slide up and down inside. It does have, because it's welded, there's a seam that runs down one side, and if you look on the inside, you get the penetration of the weld. So that's going to rub up on this. We might end putting up just a little relief in this. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. I need to shave the corners off this anyway, just to get it to go in. Of course it is snug, but I'd rather it was snug, because then it kind of supports it and it's not going to wobble about or anything. So yeah, so that's going on there. The cradle will be going on top of this. What I would probably do is lop a bit of this off, weld it to that so it sits over top. Don't know yet. Still working that bit out, but there you go. The top wheel weighs a ton. There we go. So the top wheel's going to go here. Ooh, something like that. And I'll be using some more of this box. I'll just like chop it off at an angle, and that's going to be the mounts for the top wheel, which will be fine, not a problem there. I need to find the shaft actually, because I need to know how that's going to fit. I'm not sure if it's held down with circlips or what, so we might be making a bracket up for that. But yeah, so it's coming together. The corners are all going to be braced again with some of this stuff. I'll just chop it off at an angle, stick it in like that. Job's a good one. So I should probably do these next actually. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Right then, we're getting there, I'm cutting loads of bits up, as you can see. Plans have changed a little bit, so that diagram that I drew before is going to be changing. But I will get it sorted and right, and it will represent whatever it is that I end up with here. So, we've got the top spar here. That's 600, this is 700, this is 480. I've cut out these bracing beams for the corners, and I've left quite a gap in there as well. So the idea will be I'll fully weld the outside frame in, then these will go on, obviously weld around the sides that I can easily get to, and then for the bits in here I'll just have to put a point on one of my, I think I've got some kicking around somewhere, but I haven't seen them in ages. We just get the shroud and put an angle on it, stick it in there. I tend to do one side long and one side short, if that makes sense, just because that way you can get in at the angle. So it's not just going to be like a straight point, but you'll see when I get to it. Out the 40mm stuff, this stuff, Needs to be cut down to 200. It'll go something like that, and this corner gets braced like so. There is going to be a tiny bit of a gap here, like 3mm on the inside where there's daylight, because obviously this is 60, this is 50. So there is going to be a tiny gap, but I want a gap to get a whole truckload of weld in there anyway and make it really strong. This is going to be the main carrier for the cradle. Where's the cradle? Cradle. Okay, so that will go on top of this. I've rounded all the corners off, as you can see, and I've also shaved it down on each side just a tiny bit. And I've also taken out that weld on the inside, the penetration bit of the weld. So this just goes in there. It is as snug gets, but this is basically what's going to be supporting it all. So that'll be 200mm. I still need to do a little bit of, there's a bit of weld in there I can't get to until I chop this down. Well, that's why it's stopping, but it is snug as snug gets. It really is. There is a tiniest little bit of wiggle room, but it's nothing really, and once the rest of this gets in there, there ain't going to be anything to speak about. So that's going to minimise movement on this. What I will probably do as well is drill a hole in this and just weld a nut on it so I can wind a bolt in, because that way I can clamp the whole thing side to side and it ain't going to go anywhere. So that's all fine. So I need to chop this to what, 200mm? Chop this off at 200mm. I need to cut another piece off here, and what I'm going to do is drill a hole in it, tap it so I can get some of this threaded bar to go up through it. I was going to use nuts and plate the end, but this is strong as anything and it's a nice snug fit in here. So I'm just going to shove a bit in the end with a hole in, and this will basically wind up through the bottom. And essentially it's going to push on the bottom of this, which will essentially push the cradle up like that, and that's in contact with the top wheel. So we're there. It's taken ages to get everything cut up though. I mean ages. My poor little bandsaw is having a heart attack over there. I'm going to have to treat it to a new blade because that one's knackered. But anyway, we've also got playing about with some of these. Again, it's just offcuts of this, and these are going to be the supporting legs. So there'll probably be one about there, I guess, because this I want to overhang. So I've got, it's going to be mounted onto the desk, bolted down, but I want it to overhang so I can thread the bar up to obviously raise the anvil. So this will be set in slightly, something like that, and then we'll have another two at the back end, probably right at the very back actually, and that will just stop any leverage or anything else. And it'll be reasonably wide, I guess, but it's also going to be bolted down. I might even make these a little bit longer actually, so they stick out further. Don't know, haven't decided yet. Like I say, plans are changing, but it's getting there. It's going to be tough as, I know that much. This thing's going to weigh something. Right, what's next? 200mm. Just mocking stuff up for the minute. I started putting my bevels on because anywhere obviously that I'm doing joints and stuff, so in here on that I need to get a bevel in there so I can really lay the weld into the seams and make sure it's all strong. So that's going to go like that, that's going to go like that, that'll go there. We'll probably be about there. This, you can see there's going to be an awful lot inside. I'll have a bit off this. That will go in the end and that will be threaded. and I'll drill some holes just so I can do like a plug weld on each side, and then it'll be fully welded around the bottom. This will be sticking out the bottom just a little bit so I can get a really good seam weld all the way around. But in essence, come on. Right, God, it's snug. So that will go like that. And it'll have yay much in the bottom of it. Cradle will go on top of that. And the wheel will sit about there. So I've got enough space to lift the cradle out, lift the anvil out. So that'll all be fine. Actually, that will be sitting lower down. Yeah, that'll be down. So it will basically drop to about there. So I've got plenty of room to get the anvil out, because obviously some of that's going in the bottom here, so the length is full. That will go in there. Obviously this will be in the middle, all welded round. And then feet. I am going to have enough to do wider feet, so these are probably going to be spaced out here somewhere. Because when you're working it, you're working the sheet this way, forwards and backwards. So I don't want any of this going on. So the further out the base I can get, the better. So whatever I've got left, that's just what's going to be used. I'll use all of it. That'll be fine. It'll probably be wider. Let me think. Wider at the front or the back? I don't know. Does it really matter? Probably do it wider at the front actually, because that's the working end. Yeah, we do it that way. Sweet! Right, this is the shaft. Right, so this is a 20mm, I think it's just mild steel, but a 20mm shaft that goes through the middle here of the top wheel, and it is lovely and snug. It really, really is. Got to think about how to mount this. I really want big washer on the inside of it, just so it's pressing up against the inside of the bearing. It's got so smooth, it's lovely. Then I'm obviously going to have a plate, some more of this stuff probably, that will come down either side to brace it. And then it'll be another washer, and I might just do like cross drill it and put an R clip through. Is that the way I want to do it? Really, I want to hold it central. What I might do is take this into work. I haven't got a lathe here, I haven't got access to a lathe here, but I might take it into work and just get them to machine a groove in there, because that way I can pack it out with washers so it's central and it's not wobbling about or anything, and then I'll just put a circlip around the outside of it. Either that or just drill it and do the R-clip thing, but it needs to be, yeah, it needs to not move side to side, I think. These are all right in the cradle because it butts up against them, but this, I don't want the top brackets to be the thing that holds it in place, so we're going to have to do it at this end. Yeah, I think that might be cross drilled and packed. Okay. Right, so I've basically got all the bits and pieces chopped up and we're ready to start putting stuff back together again. A couple of things I wanted to mention, just why I've designed it this way. I've looked online and I've gone through loads and loads and loads of different designs, and there's pretty much every shape English wheel you could think of out there. But this is what I'm going for. I just want to explain why. One is, it is really simple to do. Basically all you're doing is chopping stuff at 90 degrees or 45 degrees. That's it, nothing more than that. Most chop saws and band saws will do that. So, you know, it's just an easy way to get stuff done, really. If you look at the corners, these are chopped at 45 degrees here and here. The reason being, I could, and there's quite a lot of market ones which are just done like this, 90 degrees. So if you were to think about that corner, if the frame was to come down and the next one just weld on here, I don't think that's as strong. And here's why, because this piece is only actually fixed to this side. So all the strength of this is just being taken up on 60mm by 60mm around the base of this. Plus, you've got a big hole in the end, which doesn't look very nice. And you either have to cap it off or monkey about with it or do something. Quite a lot of people sort of overhang it like this and then just put a plate in. Which, I mean, you could do that, that's fine, but you're still only attached to one side of the box section. Whereas doing it at 45 degrees like I've done, if you look over here, can you see that? Yeah. You know, each side is welded to each side of this, and there is nothing to cap off. So to me, one, it's a much nicer looking finish. You haven't, you know, got a bit stuck on the end or anything else. It's all nice and flush. But the whole of this box section is connected to the whole of this box section all the way around it. So to me, that's going to be stronger. I went for box section rather than I-beam just because the shape is easier to work with as well. So where I've got these corners, corner bracing pieces matched up, because there's a radius to the end of this, it leaves a nice big gap down here to pour a ton of weld into it. All the corners have been beveled off, so I can get right down to the you know, the bottom of the weld, pour a whole load of hot weld in there, and that'll be fine. That'll be strong as. And this is how it's basically going to sit. So here what I've done is I've chopped off another piece of this. This will be mounted to that and basically welded through. So this will be removable. It's just going to sit on there, but because it's square section on square section, it's going to keep it straight and true anyway. So I'm quite happy with that, and obviously the cradle sits in there. The top wheel brackets, very simply, just took a piece of box section, 20mm hole in there, 20mm hole in there, and it is a really nice snug fit as well with the 20mm shaft. This obviously won't be rotating in here because this is on bearings. It's purely just to locate it, but there's no wiggle room on there to speak of. So that's quite cool. Still haven't decided quite how I'm going to fix this yet. I think what I'm going to do is look around for some big circlips, and I'll take this into work at a later date, and I'll just get them to machine a groove in on the lathe because I haven't got a lathe. And then I can just put a circlip around it, and that'll just keep it located. So one will go there, one will go there, like that. Obviously that goes through the middle there, that goes through the middle there, that goes on there. Job's a good one. The bottom of this, I cut a piece of this off, drilled it, tapped it, and I banged it in the end. The idea is that this threaded bar will go in there. I'll stick some sort of handle on the end of this. But as you basically wind this up, it's going to wind the thread in, and that's just going to raise the bottom anvil. So we're basically there, it's all sorted. I've just got to stick it all together now. And that's going to be interesting because nothing in here is flat. Nothing. I need to get a big piece of sheet steel, like a proper thick 25mm inch thick, you know, ½ metre by ½ metre, something that I can put stuff on just to keep it all level. But we're going to have to clamp it to weld it. So I've got 2 big pieces of steel over there, which are 1 inch thick, and all we're going to do is put one underneath, one on top, clamp it down, because that will keep it true this way, and then I can monkey about with this, and once I'm happy with it, clamp it all down, make sure it's square, tack it, make sure it's square, do one seam, make sure it's square, and then I'll fully weld the whole thing. And we just repeat that on each of the bits that need to be welded. So first thing, I think I'm going to do the main frame. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so just showing you the setup that I'm using. I've got these two big pieces of steel. They're 1 inch thick. They don't bend. Not at all. Nothing in the workshop is absolutely dead flat. I haven't got an engineer's flat or a bigger piece of this stuff that I can use to lay stuff up on and get it all square and true. So I have to resort to something like this. So all I've done is, as you can see, I've clamped one piece on the bottom, one piece on the top. These are just rare earth magnets and a piece of MIG wire that goes down between. It just gives me that gap. Hopefully you can see that. So basically I can get a whole ton of weld right to the core. Oh, hang on, where are you gone? There you are. So I can get a whole ton of weld right into the core of the metal. So I'm going to get good penetration all the way around, which is one thing that I definitely want. This has got to be strong as. It's all square. Hopefully you can see that. So I've checked it inside and outside. There is no deviation in the two in the box section, so we're all good to go there. All I'm going to do is put a tack on the outside corners first. So this one and this one. Then I'll check it's square again, because it does move when you weld it. Wherever you hit it with a welder, it kind of contracts and it pulls itself in. So there is a chance that this is going to shift, even though it's clamped down like anything. But we'll check it again then. If I'm happy with that and I don't need to tweak it, then I'll tack the inside corners. And once they're tacked in place, this shouldn't really move. I can pull out the welding wire, and then I will do the outside seam first, then the inside seam, and then I'll do these. Just that way I know that things are going to stay where I put them. So that's what I'm going to do. And then repeat that on each of the welds that needs doing. Jobs are good, hopefully, but we'll see. Right, so the frame is pretty much done now. Well, the main structure of it anyway. It's all welded. Lots and lots of heavy welders gone in there. This thing ain't going anywhere. It is solid. Did change the design just a little bit because I had a bit of a thought. Ultimately what I'm going to do is clear some space at the end. I'm going to make a proper stand for this to stand on. So it's floor standing, but I'm going to tie it into the wall as well. So there'll be another, they'll probably be made out of the same box section, but there'll be another spar underneath here with legs that kind of go out and forwards a little bit, so it's triangulated. Then this and this will be tied into the wall. So if you think about it, this bit is solid, it's bolted into the floor, it's bolted onto here, that's not going anywhere. This is bolted to the wall, so this ain't gonna flex or shift or anything. And then it's bolted into the wall at the top as well. So this ain't gonna flex. It's only this bit that stands any chance of flexing. This is not good, this is tough. I'm liking this. If you're gonna make something, make a big one. Why not? It's quite a deep throat to it as well. Obviously the platen and the anvil face this way, so you're kind of rolling metal like that, but it means I can actually get quite a deep piece of metal into it. And if you're only going to roll it halfway and spin it around and roll it the other way, you know, you could end up with something, I don't know, getting on for 2.5 feet, I suppose, to go through there. I was going to put a brace in here, but I decided not to. Reason being, this is the sort of thing that I'm going to be doing, and if that goes in like this, well, it's going to sit up on the, obviously the cradle will go in there and there'll be an anvil in top. You see, you start getting really sort of tight into the corners, and this is the sort of thing that I'm going to be doing. So I didn't put the brace in there. I don't think it's going to need it. It's fully seam welded all the way through. This is solid 40mm bar, so you know, I'm reasonably happy with that. I don't think that bit there is going to flex at all. If I need to at a later point, I'll put one in. It's not a problem, it's just stealing a bit of welding wire. So yeah, happy with that. All I've got to do now is get that on there, so it's absolutely dead level with this. And then I've got 2 brackets here, which will need to go on like so, to carry the main platen wheel. So that is literally all there is left to do. Oh, and bolt it to the desk. I'm probably going to set this up over there by Brenda the bender. It's just then everything's kind of out of the way, and if I need to use the bender with a bigger sheet, I can always just unbolt this from the bench and shift it. Although it does weigh quite a lot. But it is good, I'm pleased with this. Yeah, we're showing a bit of love to the Urch Fab. If you haven't seen his channel, Matt from Urch Fab, he's a brilliant fabricator welder. I do like what he does. He's a car bloke, he's not a biker, but he's very good at what he does. And he's been having a hell of a week with the mongrel build that he's got going on at the moment. So a little bit of support for the man. If you haven't seen him, it's well worth going to check out. Seriously recommend it. It don't matter that it's cars and not bikes, but he's a very skilled bloke. He really knows his stuff. And he could probably do with a bit of support after the week he's had, like I said. So if you go and see him, you probably will enjoy it. Tell him I said hi. Yeah, try and brighten his week a bit. Yeah, right. I'm probably going to leave this until tomorrow, I think, because I've got stuff I need to be getting on with. But anyway, come back then. Right, so what I'm doing here, obviously want the bottom anvil to be totally parallel to this top surface, because these are going to mount on here. They're cut off dead square. I can move them about and shim them and stuff like that if I need to tweak it or anything. But I want to get this set up so it's perfectly level. So I've got a nice big thick bit of steel. That can go on there. And this is one of them digital protractor, angle finder sort of thing. It's a brilliant bit of kit. Really, really good. So if we stick that on there, let everything settle. Then we'll take that as a reference. So that's now set to 0. And then if we put that on here, what does it say? Right, so it's 1.7 degrees like that. So we need to take a little bit off. .6 degrees. Oh, we're getting there. Right, this is about as close as I'm going to get it. This is 0.05 degree difference between that surface and this surface. And obviously there's a tiny bit of wiggle room in here, and if I move it, it's flicking between 0 and 0.05. So I'm going to call that done. That's good enough. It's not exactly a precision instrument. Really good, these little things though. It's good because you get a number rather than having to read off a dial or something. So happy with that. Right, next step is, this is the collar, which is going to go around there and sit on like that. And that is what the cradle is going to be welded to. Just because that way I can take the whole thing off. Should I need to get this bar out for any reason? Don't know, I might need to at some point. So this needs to get welded on there. And then we'll check it again. Happy days. Right, so I'm just going to show you this. I've got this, essentially 2 hoofing great big bits of metal. That's steel, that's alley. It's just clamped between the two. These sides are obviously parallel. I just want to get this lined up so it's smack in the middle, and it tweaked when it was welded. It's not so much of a problem. If I measure it that way, it's 10 mil on the end, and if I measure it this way, it's 14 mil. So, tiny little bit of tweak at the bottom joint, for example, down the back here, tiny little tweak when it was welded, is enough to move the top over this way by quite a bit. It's amazing how much stuff moves. That said, it's not really going to be a problem, because now we've got these 2 bits of metal in as a guide, I can slide the collar on over the top, so that's what the top cradle is going to sit on. I can position the top cradle in there, make sure the gap is even, and that it's square on sort of that way as well, just by measuring it loads. Hold that in place, move the collar up, and then I can get some tacks on it and make sure it's in the right place. But it just goes to show you can measure everything as often as you want, and as soon as you touch it with a welder, the damn thing moves. Still, never mind. It's alright, it's an easy fix, and like I say, it's only going to be 2 mil off to one side. So I'm happy with that. It's not exactly a precision instrument, but I do want it to be as good as I can possibly get it. So that's what I'm going to do next. Right, so literally all I've done is just welded across either face, and it's just got a tack in each side. So nothing major. It's still quite hot, but this should. So that will go on like that. The anvil sits in there, which is all sweet. Haven't decided if I'm gonna drill and tap this. It's all going to be under compression. It ain't going to be going anywhere. But that I think will be okay. So the next thing I need to do is to get the top wheel made. This is the shaft that holds the top platen wheel in place, and what I want it to do is to stay fixed and firm within the wheel. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is drilling a hole in either end and tapping it. That way I can put a disc of metal with a hole in the middle, just like a really large washer, sort of penny washer type thing. And as long as it covers the inside face of the bearing on the wheel, it will keep it located, and it's a really neat and tidy way of doing it. So I think that's what I'm probably going to do. That will happen at a later point. First, we've got to get it mounted up here, directly over this, and it's quite heavy. So that is going to go in there, like that. How am I going to do that then? Right, this might look a little bit dodgy. Right, what I need to do is to position the top platen wheel directly over the bottom of this cradle. This is all squared up and it's in line that way. This way, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're a millimetre off, because you can just move the top platen. This is solid 40 mil, so even if I'm a millimetre that way, the torsional stress is not really going to do a great deal. So what I've done here is I've put the thread in the bottom, and I've wound the anvil support up. I've got the platen wheels here. It's got a spacing washer either side. The shaft is in it, and obviously we've got the two brackets, one either side. This is the same stuff as this. So essentially all I've done is I've clamped two fairly sturdy bits of steel, or steel alley, either side, so I can get it lined up and it's nice and square. And that looks pretty much vertical to me on both sides. It was all cut square in the bandsaw anyway, so that's not a problem. Obviously I don't want to get anything on the platen wheel, so we're going to cover that up in a second just with some, I don't know, rags or something. And then the idea is we're just going to get a couple of tacks in there to hold it. Then I can take the wheel out and I can get it fully welded. But this is the only way really I had of getting everything central. So that's what I'm doing, but I just really don't want to get anything on these wheels. That would be bad. And then we are pretty much done. I've just got to weld the top brackets up and we're in. Then I can give it a go. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Right. We're in there. Right, so that's it. Job done. I am pleased with the way it's turned out, actually. Really pleased with the way it's turned out. Couple of points to note. I have welded this cradle to this 40mm piece of bar. The reason being is that the contact patch I want to be, between the lower anvil and the top platen. I want it to be right in the centre of the platen. And it was there, but there was a tiny little bit of wiggle room in here. So basically I evened it all up, got the contact patch right in the middle, and I've just tacked it in place. That will come out and get fully welded, just for the sake of completeness more than anything, but it's not going anywhere because the weight, the top face of this cradle actually sits on this bar. So I ain't going to move anywhere, it's just that I wanted it to, stay where I put it, basically. It is beefy, it is strong as. I've bounced on top and down of this and it ain't going anywhere. This is open for a reason. I've seen some people do these online where obviously this whole frame is one open piece on the inside because I chopped it at 45 degrees, I didn't just butt it up. So one option you've got, which is I think is quite a sneaky one, is you fill it full of stuff. And some people do it full of sand, which I'm not very keen of. Other people do it full of lead shot, which could be expensive. But you could pack the whole thing out with something and then just cap the end off, and that basically takes up the void inside. I don't think I'm going to need to do that on this though, because it is solid. It really, really is. Loads of hot weld has gone into all the joints. I'm not going to bother dressing them down. I think it just adds to the charm. The only thing I am going to do is obviously stick a handle on the end of this bar, just like a T-piece, just to make it easier to wind the anvil up and down. And I'm also going to hunt around and find some washers, which have got a 20mm hole in the middle, just so I can pack out between the, between the bearing on the top platen and the edge of this frame. Just that will stop any lateral movement. And at the minute, there is about 1mm there, just because I haven't got the washers to do it. But that's going to be the other thing that will happen. But yeah, other than that, she's done. Ordinarily, I would have a play with this now and show you how it works, but I ain't going to do that because I need to go to work. So if you want to see how it works out, you're going to have to check in on the next video when Steve-O and me get to play about with this to make some panels for the Café Racer. So I ain't got any idea how it's going to perform, so if you want to find out, join us then. But structurally, this is in. We are sorted. We also put the shout out on the community page and on the Facebook page, because anything I build gets a name, and there were some blinders that people came up with. Really, it's like the obvious ones with the English Rose, so Rosie and all that stuff. However, the one that we've gone with came from a fella called Jim Sherman, because he's built like a tank and it flattens everything in its path. I thought that was great. So anyway, Sherman, everybody, Sherman. Yeah, we're going to get to play with this later and see how it does. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see how it works out and we'll let you know. If I do need to tweak anything, I will do. I will remake the plans for these and I will put them up. I'm not sure if I can just stash pictures up on the community page for YouTube or not, I don't know. I'll have a play with that, but I will get a copy of the plans up in PDF form. I'll try and stick them on YouTube and on the Facebook page. If you wanna go and grab a copy, not a problem. And we will see what happens. Yeah, I'm pleased. Nice one. Anyway, later.